Welcome to Scariest Moments, the series that showcases the most horrifying moments in horror movies. My name is Tyler Style, and today we're going to be looking at The Invisible Man that came out in 2020, not the 1933 original. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, sexy. But if you're new, hi, my name's Tyler, and I make horror-related videos that'll hopefully entertain you for a few minutes. Before we get into the video, I want to introduce my very first horror-related sponsor, HorrorPack. HorrorPack is a mystery box-like service that will send you 4 Blu-ray horror movies for $25 a month. They sent me their February box, and I received the movies Clickbait, which is an indie film, and they always try to add one indie film just to, give you something that they know you haven't seen before. Then they also gave me 3 non-indie films, Elizabeth Harvest, The Darkness, and my personal favorite, Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. Personally, I love this company, and I wouldn't be recommending it to you guys if I didn't think you'd love it too. With all this social distancing happening, this is the perfect time to get free movies, and I'm going to be having a giveaway for the digital version of The Darkness. The giveaway will be in the second link in the description below, and the first one will be for HorrorPack. Make sure to go check them out because I know you guys are going to love them. The winner of the giveaway will be announced in next week's video. Now let's get back to The Invisible Man. This movie is directed by Leigh Whannell and stars Elizabeth Moss as a woman who runs from her abusive ex who ends up committing suicide. But after some weird stuff happens, she believes that his death was a hoax and that he is invisible. She attempts to prove to her peers that he isn't dead, but obviously no one believes her. The Invisible Man is filled with suspenseful scenes that successfully build tension even when nothing is there. But how scary is it? Let's find out. The movie starts off at approximately 3:42 a.m. with Cecilia sneakily getting out of bed so that she doesn't wake up her boyfriend Adrian. Cecilia is attempting to escape her abusive relationship by leaving while he sleeps. She shows us a bottle with diazepam pills, and it looks like she drugged him so that he stays asleep. She goes into her closet where she has a secret cubby with a getaway duffel bag. She takes extra precaution by moving a security camera towards him and watching him sleep on her phone. She walks through some crazy tech room and turns off all the security cameras except for the one facing him, and then disables the security. She slowly walks into a dog bowl, dumbass. But luckily she doesn't wake Adrian up. Cecilia finally walks outside, but their dog doesn't want her to go. She takes his electric collar off and sets off the car alarm while doing so. Oh no, looks like Adrian's up. Cecilia gets into her sister's car and unknowingly drops her meds. Adrian runs up to the car and straight decks the window, making her sister drive off. 2 weeks later, Cecilia is at her sister's friend James's house. James has Cecilia try to walk to the mailbox because she is afraid to leave the house and he wants to help her. She goes and hears a jogger, making her run back inside. Cecilia is covering up her webcam so she can't be watched, and James is painting while the doorbell rings. Jeez, look at those guns. It's Cecilia's sister, Emily, who has some good news for Cecilia. Turns out Adrian committed suicide, or so she thinks. James and his daughter Sydney are talking about goals, and Cecilia comes in with the mail.
I think it's important to have goals, James.
Hey, look at you, getting out into the world. By next year, you'll make it across the street.
Turns out Cecilia has some mail, which is weird because
no one knows I'm here.
Turns out she was a part of Adrian's will and meets with Adrian's brother, who says Cecilia will receive $5 million. That will be in increments of $100,000 a month for the next 5 or so years. With this good news, Cecilia gives James a present with a brand new ladder because the other one was old and gross. Sydney refuses to help paint, but insists on getting on the ladder to grab an envelope with her name on it. Cecilia is giving Sydney $120,000, and that will be used to pay for her to go to fashion school. I usually go on IMDb to look up trivia and stuff to put in the videos, and I saw something that said that this film was filmed in Australia, and there was no indication that it was ever in the US, but if you look on that envelope, it says Oakland, California, so Tyler 1, IMDb 0. They decided to celebrate, and I don't know what kind of Fortnite dance that is, but that's gotta go, girl. Cecilia is putting clothes up, and she thinks someone is watching her, so she turns around, and I'll say this movie is amazing with having tension when you're looking at nothing, because in this shot, there are so many things that you could look at, so your eyes are darting around trying to find something moving, but nothing ever happens. The next morning, Cecilia is making breakfast, and when she leaves, the knife gets taken and the burner gets turned on to the highest temperature, causing a fire and, more importantly, burning the bacon. I hope you like it crispy, Cecilia. Later that night, Cecilia thinks she hears something and starts investigating around the house. She walks into the kitchen and the front door opens. She walks outside into the cold, and it's so cold that we can see her breath. Oh, and I forgot to mention the breath behind her too. She goes to sleep and wakes up to a flash and sees a man in the room, but it's only Sydney's mannequin. But that mannequin is an Easter egg to the 1933 Invisible Man movie. She gets up and grabs the blanket on the floor, and there's another great scene with a chair. While she drags the blanket back to bed, it gets snagged on nothing. We only see an outline of some feet. The footprints start to move towards her and she calls for James. Sydney wakes up and pulls out her pepper spray while James pulls out those guns. The next day, Cecilia is at an interview and when asked about her previous work, she opens up her suitcase and all of her papers are gone. She collapses and winds up in the hospital. She sees a man wrapped up completely in bandages, and this is another reference to the original Invisible Man. She gets cleared to go home, and while in the shower, she gets a phone call from the doctor saying that she collapsed because of the high amount of diazepam in her blood system. She looks at the sink and notices the pill bottle that she lost at the beginning of the movie. The next day, Cecilia and James go to talk to Adrian's brother, and James is very strict to him about listening to Cecilia until he realizes why they came. I just love that reaction from James. He's like, what the fuck did you just say? Tom says that Adrian was good at getting into people's heads and that everything she thinks she is experiencing is all in her head. Tom shows Cecilia pictures of Adrian's dead body and Cecilia leaves to go to her sister's apartment. Emily answers the door and is pissed off at Cecilia for sending an email to her about how awful of a sister she is and how she only wants the money. Cecilia tries to explain that Adrian sent the email, but obviously Emily doesn't believe her. Cecilia goes back home and is crying on the floor when Cindy comes in to help her feel better. When Sydney looks down, she gets absolutely decked and thinks Cecilia did it. Sydney calls her dad and James gets mad and leaves the house with Sydney, leaving Cecilia alone in the house. Cecilia starts tempting Adrian and decides to dump coffee grounds on the floor so that she would see Adrian's footsteps walk toward her. She calls Adrian's phone and hears it vibrating in the attic. Cecilia does the most stupid thing you can do in a horror movie and actually goes into the attic. But after finding the cell phone, she sees a text that says surprise and hears something by the ladder. She goes back to the ladder and dumps a bucket of paint on it, exposing Adrian and giving us the best jump scare of the entire movie. Adrian runs away and Cecilia climbs out of the attic to confront him. She follows a paint trail to the living room until it stops and then hears the sink, which Adrian used to get the paint off of him. Adrian picks her up by her neck and throws her into a wall, and we get a great sequence of Elizabeth Moss fighting with no one. She starts hitting Adrian with plates, which break in mid-air, and then runs out of the house and calls an Uber to take to Adrian's house. Cecilia goes into the house to find the dog, and she sees the machine that we saw earlier in the film. She learns that this is the machine that makes Adrian invisible by wearing a suit that turns invisible. She takes the suit and the dog starts barking and it looks like Adrian's home. I don't know how he got back home because invisible people can't call Ubers, but regardless, he's back in the house. Cecilia goes into the closet and puts the suit in the cubby that she hid her duffel bag in at the beginning of the movie. She hides in the corner of the closet and we watch Adrian walk past her by seeing his footprints go into the carpet. Cecilia runs away and gets back into the Uber and gets driven back. She calls her sister asking if she can meet her for dinner. Her sister comes and is a dick to the waiter.
Okay, can I get you started with some water? We have still or sparkling?
Just the free kind.
Okay, tap it is.
Cool.
Cecilia tells her about the situation that's going on and to believe her about this whole Adrian still being alive theory that she has. But after explaining what Adrian has been doing, Emily sees a floating knife behind Cecilia and gets her throat slit. The knife then gets into Cecilia's hand and Cecilia gets arrested. While resisting, she gets bound to a bed and is screaming at Adrian when she gets a shot to make her pass out. When she is about to fall asleep, she hears Adrian say,
Surprise.
The next day, Cecilia is being interrogated by James and another interrogator. Cecilia tells James that she has something that can prove that Adrian is alive, but she can't say it now because Adrian is in the room. Obviously, this makes her look hella crazy, and James makes the other interrogator leave. James blames himself for leaving her alone, and we cut to Cecilia talking to another employee and gets told that she's pregnant. Later that day, Adrian's brother Tom comes to the psychiatric ward and tells Cecilia that she will not be receiving any more money because she committed a crime, and in the paperwork, it says she will lose the remaining funds if she did. Tom then goes along to say that all of this could be over if she has the baby and gets back with Adrian. So he's known this whole time that Adrian's been alive and messing with her. What a dick. He says he will make all the charges go away and everything, but she refuses his offer for the time being. She throws his stuff on the ground and steals a pen and then burns him worse than the bacon.
You're just the jellyfish version of him. Everything but the spine.
Later that day, she's in her room. She turns on the shower and tells Adrian that he's not gonna get the baby or her. She starts cutting her wrists with the pen she stole and Adrian stops her. She stabs him and it makes his suit malfunction and parts of it are visible for periods of time. She keeps stabbing him and then a guard opens the door and Adrian tases him with the guard's own taser and Cecilia runs away. We get a crazy one-take sequence of a bunch of guards getting fucked up by Adrian. This scene consists of 5 guards getting killed or attacked and is a 2-minute 20-second constant shot. And the best part about it is that ends in a bang. And Cecilia firing at Adrian and trying to chase him outside. It's pouring out and Cecilia is going around the parking lot trying to find Adrian. The guards go outside and look for her, but Adrian finds her first when he appears right in front of her. He pins her to an ambulance and tells her that he is gonna go kill Sydney. While threatening, a guard comes up and tells Adrian to show him his hands, but Adrian shoots him instead. Adrian walks off and Cecilia hops on GTA 5 and just rips some dude out of his car. While pulling away, we see a Billy the Puppet graffiti on the wall, and this is obviously a reference to Saw and the director Lee Winnell, who created the original Saw movie with James Wan. Cecilia calls James and tells her that Sydney is in danger and he needs to go back home now. We cut to the house that seems empty and quiet, but then the back door opens up. Sydney is sleeping but wakes up when she hears something and pulls out her pepper spray. She has a feeling that someone is right next to her and sprays it, just to see the invisible person hit her dresser and knock everything down. She tries to run away and gets dropped. James gets home to see Sydney being choked on the ground and he tries to save her, but the invisible man takes control over James and starts punching him repeatedly until blood is gushing out. Cecilia comes in with a fire extinguisher and covers the suit and starts shooting the invisible man. He collapses and it's revealed to be Tom and not Adrian. Now that you guys know this, I can point out a foreshadowing technique that was used with Sydney and the shirt she's wearing. It's a jellyfish shirt, and that's a reference to Cecilia calling Tom the jellyfish of Adrian. We cut to a tactical team at Adrian's house who finds Adrian tied up in his basement. James gives Cecilia the news and Cecilia says that it was Adrian who was doing everything, and he set his own brother up. Later that night, Cecilia calls Adrian and then goes to his house to have dinner with him. She tells him that she will only stay with him if he is honest about everything that happened. We will see that James is listening to the whole conversation to try to get Adrian to confess, but he refuses to tell the truth, and instead gives a cryptic message to Cecilia by saying this.
Because I know you better than anyone else in the world. That shouldn't come as a surprise.
If you don't know why this is a cryptic message, it's because of the text message she received in the attic, and then when she was passing out, she heard Adrian say surprise. Cecilia starts crying and says that she's gonna go clean herself up. Adrian is sitting at his dining room table, and Cecilia used the invisible suit she had hid to make Adrian slit his own throat. He bleeds out and Cecilia comes back and calls the cops. She purposely gets out of view from the security camera and hangs up on the police after giving the address. She sits down and watches Adrian die and gives him a taste of his own medicine.
Surprise.
James runs down and Cecilia tells him that Adrian killed himself and she walks away from the house to end the movie. What did you guys think about The Invisible Man? I really liked it, but a lot of people thought it was slow. I would recommend this movie to any horror fan, and if you haven't seen it, make sure you do. This series only focuses on the scariest moments and you miss a lot by only watching the video. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and comment what you thought about the movie. Make sure to subscribe if you like horror related content as much as I do. My name is Tyler Style and this has been Scariest Moments. Thanks for watching my Invisible Man Scariest Moments video in my brand new room and my brand new setup. I'm so glad to be making Scariest Moments videos again, even though they take a lot more time and effort. If you want to talk to me about horror movies whenever, make sure to follow me on social media. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys later.